The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
Today, we have a question from Robby, who writes to us from Melbourne, Australia. And Robby says, "You all must be getting dizzy over there in America." Yes, every day feels like Groundhog Day, the same cycle repeating itself. The war is supposedly won. Their capabilities are destroyed. Speaking of Iran. Then suddenly we're bombing again. More service members are hurt. We're talking. We have a deal. Then we don't have a deal. 1 minute it's we'll respond forcefully. The next it's never mind, we're stepping back. At this point, does anyone know what's going on? No. Here in Australia, it's almost become a running joke. You can't walk into a pub without someone shaking his head at the sheer dysfunction in Washington. And I'm not talking about one person. I mean the government as a whole. The executive branch lurches from one position to another, and Congress seems unable to assert any coherent strategy. People here genuinely wonder how American public confidence in its leadership remains as high as it does. Yeah, we wonder too, Robby. Meanwhile, Australia has stayed almost entirely silent throughout this conflict. Our priority is economic stability. We favor diplomacy, we avoid escalation, and we have no intention of sending troops. You've talked a lot about diplomacy on past episodes, but I want to float an idea. If Middle Eastern partners aren't making progress, is it time to look beyond the usual mediators? What if China, Japan, and Australia took the lead in negotiations? Could a coalition of major Asia-Pacific powers produce better results? Would the United States even accept that kind of arrangement? And if it did, given the volatility of American decision-making right now, would it make any difference? You often say the U.S. needs an exit strategy, but from the outside, it looks like every potential off-ramp gets burned the moment it appears. So, is Washington actually trying to get out of this conflict, or is it stuck in a cycle it no longer knows how to break? Yeah, that's excellent, Robby. And I personally, I don't think that anyone is going to be able to make any changes at all. Because Trump is in the way, and Trump has called the recency effect, which it's the most recent person with whom he has spoken is the one who influences him, and that's a cognitive bias, and he is known to have that, where he is manipulated and manipulable, and I don't know if he really wants to stop. It's impossible to tell with him. So you're right. I mean, 1 minute is this, the next is that, and you're dealing with someone who has never kept his word ever throughout his lifetime, and now, of course, he is far worse than he was before, and he cannot be counted on. And Iran knows that. They were promised an end to the economic sanctions, and that never happened. So they no longer trust Trump or the Trump administration, and they should not. And I don't see what would make them want to stop themselves until the United States and every American is out of the region. Personally, that's my personal feeling. It's in their best interests for the United States to leave entirely and stay out. You can't believe anything that Trump says. Anyway, so Mark Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, It's an interesting idea, Robbie. What if we gave it to Japan, China, and Australia? Would the United States accept that? With Trump's relationship with China being so wishy-washy, that's a good question. That really is a good question. I honestly don't know if China was put into the mix, if it would be acceptable to the United States. I believe it would be acceptable to Iran. I think if you put those three together, and they're an interesting three too. I really do think that they're an interesting three. Japan and Australia, as you point out, are not going to send troops. They are known to be allies of the United States. They support the United States, but they don't support this escalation, nor do they support the war. China, on the other hand, has a economic interest in this, although that interest is declined because of the stockpiles that China, in their wisdom, have sitting, as far as oil reserves, sitting just waiting to be used, and their embracing of electronic vehicles and things like that. So, again, we're looking at that group there, and I would say none of them have a dog in the fight, as opposed to some of the nations that are involved in the process today for negotiations. They do have a vested interest. They have interests. They're in the region. They may have been attacked. So yeah, they have an interest. These three, not so much. So it would be an interesting thing. I honestly don't know if this would be acceptable to Trump. But you also bring up a very good point. Every time he seems to have an off ramp, he seems to burn that bridge. And you're also correct that nobody knows what's going on. Absolutely no one. We've talked about this war in Iran so many times on this podcast, and the bottom line is that depending on what day it is, depends on your assessment of what's going on. I did see over the weekend where he said, "Oh, nope, we're not gonna bomb them. They're begging us not to bomb." And whenever he starts talking like a 5-year-old on the kindergarten playground, you're probably getting a lie. Probably nobody said that. The Iranians have come out and said that they are speaking with Oman for the Strait of Hormuz and coming up with agreements about the Strait of Hormuz. There is no mention of speaking with the United States. I think we've all come to the conclusion here, and I could be wrong, that the United States, our best option at this point in time is just get the hell out and just be over and done with. We botched it. It's terrible. You could try to spin it to the MAGA faithful any way you want to do. They're going to believe whatever you tell them anyway, so it isn't going to matter. The rest of the country is going to know, what's going on. But just get out and just admit, we screwed up. But I think it's an interesting concept you bring in.
Yeah, I mean, look, from my standpoint, I would take diplomacy from anywhere.
Hell yeah.
We've got none right now. We don't have any diplomats on this particular job right now. We have a couple of real estate developers, one of whom is a Nepo baby who earned nothing in his entire life and has spent his father's money, which is Jared Kushner, by the way. I don't know what Wickoff's background is that well, but neither one of them has the skill set to be able to negotiate their way out of a paper bag. And they're both probably looking at their own benefits for opportunities. And I know Trump is, because that's just who Trump is. And we are no closer. The Groundhog Day thing is a great analogy. I mean, every morning it's like somebody yelling, Phil, and it begins again. I got you, I got you, babe. It really is up to someone to try to step in here, but the main thing is that we have to step out. Trump has to declare victory and leave, and get the troops out and just say, you know what, let, F the world can take care of itself. It's not my problem anymore. I did the best job that anybody has ever done with Iran, and it's up to other people now. And wait until some grown up gets elected to office in America to be able to actually negotiate a peace deal with Iran that prevents them from even wanting to have a nuclear weapon. One of the more disturbing things, though, that I keep seeing and hearing on social media mostly, but I think also with like pundit class people, is this sort of lionization of Iran, which is insanity to me. Iran is a horrible country, maybe not the people, but of course the leadership. It is run by their military. It is run by terrorism. It is oppressive of its own people. They're executing more and more people all the time. It is like, no, they're good at making Lego videos. I'll grant them that. Whoever is doing that is really on their game, because they're really good. And I don't know who it is or anything, but they're good at what they do. If you've ever seen the Lego videos, they've got a channel on YouTube. You can watch them. They really are pretty good. And they're good at sarcasm. And thank goodness they've used these tools rather than terrorism in this war so far. But now they have cyber attacked us a couple of different places. Minnesota and Michigan, the water supplies have been cyber attacked. Trump has been denying it. He probably should stop doing that. He probably needs to come back to reality a little bit. China, who was mentioned by our listener, is not a fair broker of anything. So I would keep trying out of that triumvirate. But Japan, Australia, and maybe South Korea or somebody, I don't know who else, could certainly be in there. And China and Russia are both on the side of Iran. And Trump, has this like fantasy of a personal relationship with the leaders of these countries. He's got to stop doing that, because it's not doing us any favors, having him personalize what is really impersonal, and try to make it about relationships. And I really get along with this guy, or I don't get along with that guy, or whatever, all the other nonsense. The other Groundhog Day aspect of it, and I'll stop talking after this, is that it really seems to me that by the end of the week we're going to war, and by the end of the weekend we're going to peace, and it probably has more to do with the stock market than anything else. And he wants to get that good Monday morning opening, and that's the motivation for the policies such as they are that he has.
And that's where we got Taco Tuesday from.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna bomb, or we're gonna make peace, or we're gonna switch everything that we've said that we're gonna do, and oil prices down, stock market up. I'm looking at the stock market; it's up, it's in the green. So mission accomplished, I guess. His people are making money. Oil companies are making record profits. We're the rich are getting richer. I think that's a big part of the program here. And as long as not too many people are getting killed, I guess this could go on until some adult in the room steps in and does something about it. By the way, just breaking news, the two holdout senators, those profiles in courage, have reversed themselves. Todd Blanche will be the Attorney General of the United States.
And there we have it. They had a spine for a week. Anyway.
Yeah. Why am I not surprised?
No, not at all. But yeah, we must look funny to you in Australia. And it looks funny to us here.
It does. And in the rest of the world too. I'm sure they have
And what I didn't include in the question that came to you, he also wrote in there a special thing to me. And no, Mark, not John Huntsman.
Not John Huntsman. All right.
Not John Huntsman.
Okay. And hey, Australia, if you don't want to see the Mad Max movies come to truth and become reality, then Australia may want to step in. Maybe Canada would be the other third country.
Canada could be a good, yeah.
That would be a good arbiter.
Except Trump hates Mark Carney.
Well,
hates everybody who's
he hates
decent.
Everybody.
Right. He only likes dictators.
I mean, let's remember, he doesn't like the Japanese prime minister because she didn't tell him about Pearl Harbor. That's pretty impressive. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!